Hello, every pony. This is Ellie here, and I finally got around to reading The Rainbow Factory Part 2. So, I will I will start off where left off. So, let's see, where were we? There we go. Alright. Scootaloo stood shocked, hardly hearing her name called. She moved numbly up the ramp, never taking her eyes off her friend and the pony he sacrificed himself to help. After a brief moment, she shook her head, recovered her thoughts, and looked to the judges. Thoughts passed through her head as she watched them all nod. Oh, Celestia, what did I do? Oh, wait, what do I do? I can't let everybody I know down, but I'll never see Orion again. I hope he knew what risk when he did. Wait. Oh, sorry. I hope he knew that risk when he did that. I'm sure he's thinking the same thing right now. She glanced at Orion. He wasn't looking at her. She took off, heartbroken. Instinct kicked in as the familiar rush of wind cooled her and blew her thoughts away. She stopped at the right altitude and then launched again, sensing and seeing every cloud, formulating a game plan in a matter of a couple dozen seconds. In a matter of a couple dozen seconds, the sky was clear. She did a quick loop in mid-flight, aiming at the first tube. With a powerful flash of her wings, she propelled forwards to the first ring, and the second, and then the third, expertly turning and drifting. She curved in towards the second-last ring, near the bottom of the field. As she descended, she caught sight of Orion and Aurora, almost at the west gate now. Orion turned his head and smiled weakly. Scootaloo's focus shattered. Orion knew what he did. He cared about her. He'd miss her, and he'd never get to say goodbye. Scootaloo cranked into the bottom part of the ring, falling backwards several feet and hitting the ground. With a sudden, intense flash of fear, she flipped herself onto her feet and began flapping her wings, levitating off the ground. Maybe that didn't count as a failure, she thought. I can still fly. There was a distraction on the field. She spun around to the judges. 3 hooves pointed down. Scootaloo started crying there, tears welling up and blurring her vision. This wasn't right. This shouldn't have happened. None of it. Orion should have passed his test and cheered her from the east gate. She shouldn't have looked at him. She should have focused on flying. But there was no room for excuses. Defeated, she slowly hovered towards Orion and settled down next to him. She looked at him through her purple eyes. He looked back, offering a smile. You did a good job. Scootaloo dropped her head and sobbed, and then walked around Orion, lifted a wing of her own, and helped Aurora walk to the west gate. Before them stood a long, unlit hallway, only a cheap sign stuck to the wall notifying test failees to proceed down the hall. They waited only briefly to gather themselves and prepare for where they would be taken. Then they all stepped forward together. Against an empty carriage at the end of the lonely hall were 3 imposing ponies, leaning into a disinterested and bored pose. One of them happened to look up as the sorry-looking trio stumbled out into the open. They were on the bottom edge of the Colosseum, with the vast rolling hills and plains of Equestria visible far below. Hey, boss, we got some of them worthless Pegasuses. Pegasus. Oh, I thought it was Pegasi. I don't know. The first one called to an even bigger pony on the other side of the carriage. I suppose it's get to work time, is it? Cool it, Hotshot. There may be more, too. No, I was the last student to go. Scootaloo spoke in sobs. Orion could only hang his head. It's... She paused and then breathed deeply, determined to remain as strong as she could. It's just the 3 of us. Aurora's wings. They're broken. She needs help. Ain't that just a crying shame it is? What's it to us? All that better she doesn't come flying back to us no more. We may have failed our damn test. Oh, wait. Okay, that is Scootaloo, sorry. We may have failed our damn test, but that doesn't mean we're not worth keeping alive, Scootaloo shouted in a flash of rage. She was determined to hold on to as much dignity as he could. All right. Oh, wait, that was a weird voice. All right. Sheesh. Hey, Patches, doctor her up before we head out. I don't want any blood on dem seats. I just washed that thing. You other 2 in the cot. Orion and Scootaloo hopped into the carriage and got as comfortable as they could on the hard seats, and made sure to leave room for Aurora. As soon as a third of the large ponies finished bandaging her wings, Aurora carefully stepped into the vehicle and lay down on the bench at the back. Scootaloo inched closer to her and leaned down to talk as the door to the carriage slammed shut. The boss pony was inside the back, standing by the door, watching each of them. "So," Scootaloo began quietly, trying not to speak too loud, "you're Aurora? I'm Scootaloo. I'm Scootaloo. I'm sorry we had to meet this way." "Any meeting of a friend is a welcome meeting," Aurora spoke gently, with sincerity in her eyes. "We did our best, that's all we can say. That's all any of us can say. Who's to say that the city of the portage isn't a good one, anyways?" The thought struck Scootaloo as she considered it. No one was ever told about where the Pegasi were brought. Most ponies considered it to be some odd land, like where the zebras hailed from. That made Scootaloo realize something even more profound. Hey, if where we're taking is where the Seccons come from, then there's got to be a way back. It's not as if we're banned from Equestria. Fluttershy, an old friend of mine, she's a Pegasus who lives in Ponyville. She never passed fight school. She never took her test. They've never come and taken her away. Exactly, Aurora agreed with a nod. Orion overheard and offered his thoughts. "I think the reason we're sent far away is because no pony from Cloudsdale ever wants to admit that someone who failed flight school could come from their city. What a fucking horrible place, now that I think about it. I never want to go back." Okay, just saying. The voices that I'm doing now are different from the first one because I'm trying to do a better job. I don't know if it's working or not, so, you know. Yeah. Maybe that's why no Pegasus ever comes back. They just don't like Cloudsdale. "You goddamn worthless ponies, you can hardly call yourself Pegasus!" Boss spoke from the door. He was swaying ever so slightly as the carriage was lifted and moved to an unknown location. "Useless failures is what you are. No pony comes back from exile, regardless of reason. Can't even pass your goddamn test. You three make me sick." Scootaloo jumped from her seat, lifted herself in the air with her wings, and dove legs first at the boss. "You shut the hell up about us! You have no right to treat others like this!" Boss waved a hoof and backhanded Scootaloo out of the air onto the floor. "I can treat you however I want. You hardly classify as ponies to Cloudsdale, or any of Equestria for that matter. Now sit the fuck down and shut up until you get to your destination." "Where are we being taken anyways? Not like we can tell anybody now, as I'm sure as the deliverers you guys should know," Orion cautiously reasoned. "Hell if I know. We hand this cartridge off to ponies in suits, and we get a bag full of coins to keep quiet about the whole thing. It's how it's always been for 1,000 years. The three fillies huddled together again, scared of the unknown. They kept quiet as they waited through the unbearable trip, all lost in their own thoughts. Friends, family, loved ones, and pets. All will never see them again, and some would never find out why. An hour passed, and then another. Finally, the uncomfortable quiet was broken by a sudden lurch as the carriage stopped in its flight. "Ah, there's my stop. You ponies play nice now and have fun wherever the hell you're sent to." The carriage door shuffled open, and the boss hopped out with a gust of cold wind. It was night outside now, and hardly any light to see at all. Scootaloo stared outside and noticed another figure staring in. It was dressed in a black suit, its tail dyed an unnatural black that never occurred in nature. Its face was covered by a dark, loose-fitting mask concealing its mane. All that was visible were its rose-colored eyes, staring indifferently at the three ponies inside. They stopped on Scootaloo momentarily, unrecognizing, but she stared back. A second passed. The dark pony slammed the door shut, and the carriage took off once again. "At least we can talk now," Aurora whispered in the dark. They had nothing to talk about.
With all great things comes a great responsibility. That of Cloudsdale's being with a stability.
The carriage finally shuddered to a stop. The three desolate fools blinked their eyes awake, having all resolved to conserve energy for whatever came next. With a loud scraping noise, the door shook and then swung wide open. Several more ponies, obscured by masks and suits, were moving around the area. Scootaloo blinked against the light from which she was seeing. They were in a cloud building. As her eyes adjusted, she noticed more details. Several of the blackened ponies were rushing around, some holding clipboards, some carrying briefcases and other important items on their backs. The complex was full of machinery and signs. Pipes ran from along the ceiling and a loud whir ran through the background, occasionally joined with other industrial sounds such as crashes and alarms. Scootaloo gasped. This place. The architecture. It's all so familiar. I think we're in the weather factory. Orion frowned. That can't be right. We were traveling for way too long. We've got to be far away from Equestrian now, not to mention the city. Actually, Scootaloo may be right, Aurora mused. I noticed it was maybe the same amount of time from when we left the Coliseum to the place the carriage driver swapped. That it was from the swap place to here, but I don't know. I'm confused. Maybe that's just a coincidence. Welcome! Wait, large, powerful, okay. Welcome, mules! Several of the a large and powerful voice commanded. Several of the ponies moved to make way for a deep, dark red Pegasus dressed in a white lab coat. Oh, hey, that's me, Red Pegasus. Yeah! Because my pony's a red Pegasus. No, I'm just kidding. This isn't me. Coincidence, though. So I'm going to talk in my regular voice. Welcome, mules! Because I'm going to pretend it's me! Sorry. A large and powerful voice commanded. Several of the suited ponies moved to make way for a deep, dark red Pegasus dressed in a white lab coat. You degenerates are probably wondering where exactly you are. Stupid fillies, you're in Cloudsdale, the Rainbow Facility to be correct. Allow me to show you around. What's going on here? Do you expect to use us as slaves? Because I'd rather be deported, thanks! Scootaloo yelled. Orion and Aurora got off their seats and stood behind Scootaloo, nodding in agreement. Like you failures have a choice, you'll be here for the rest of your lives. Oh, I'm sorry. Where are my manners? I am Dr. Atmosphere. I am Dr. Sketch. Sorry. I'm going to change the name because I want to be in the story. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I am Dr. Atmosphere. My degree isn't a medical one. I shall reassure you in case you're picturing some dreadful surgery going on behind the scenes. Strange how so many worthless Pegasus got that idea. No, my degree is in engineering. I'm one of the 4 colts. Oh, it's a boy. Pretend it's a girl, and then her name is Sketch, and then it's me. So, yeah. I'm one of the 4 colts in this facility. I'm sure you've all had the tour of the lower factory, no? 3 ponies nodded slowly, unsure of what was going on. Excellent! Who can tell me where the tour begins? Orion spoke up first. Well, where the spectre comes from upstairs and is mixed. Very good. What a pity you're utterly useless to the flock. You could have been a smart one. Dr. Atmosphere smiled sadistically and patted Orion on the head. But today we're on the upper floor. Please follow me and don't get too far behind, or one of my helpers will be forced to encourage you. With that, he winked at the suited ponies. With nods, 3 of them at the rear leaned forwards and jabbed each of the Pegasus with tasers, shocking them to the ground. Dr. Atmosphere whinnied in laughter as they all yelped and fell, and continued into a soft chuckle as they all stood up again. Scootaloo blinked more tears from her eyes and shook herself again, trying to lose the tingling in her nerves. She turned quickly and looked at each of the suited ponies, catching each of them in the eye when she could. None of them were the rose-eyed pony from the carriage. Begrudgingly, she started walking behind the red engineer. You simply must be careful in this apartment, Dr. Atmosphere began in a tone not unlike the many tour guides in the lower floors. There's plenty of nooks and crannies and vents and vats one could fall into. One must be careful not to hurt themselves. After all, you're hopeless as it is, and any more so, even we couldn't use you. He glanced behind himself maliciously as the 3 foals followed in suit. They were walking down a series of halls with vibrating machines and assembly lines lining the way, occasionally ducking under low-hanging wires and carefully stepping over steaming pipes. As they walked, though, the building became cooler and cooler. All 3 were sensing, looking for any way out. They couldn't see any. I'm gonna stop there for now, because, I just am. So, yeah. Okay, well, thank you for listening, and I will be posting the third part in a couple days or something, because I have to go get ready for my best friend's birthday party. Yeehaw! Okay, sorry. Alright, this is Ellie, aka Sketch. No, just kidding. Alright, this is Ellie signing out.